What it is, remember that our vision for the school district of Milton is that we believe in opportunities, achievement, and community for all. And our mission statement to support that is that the school district of Milton, in partnership with our community, prepare our students for achievement and lifetime readiness by providing opportunities for all. And on that note, we'll call to order the Board of Education meeting for Monday, December 9th. And please join me in our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Mr. Dahman, do you know of any changes we need to make to the agenda?
There was an updated staffing report that was put in during the day today, but there are no other changes to the agenda.
All right.
I'll move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Tracy's motion is seconded by Rick to approve our agenda the way we have it. Questions from anyone? All in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we have an agenda. Minutes are next, of course.
I'll move to approve the minutes for the regular meeting held on November 25th, 2024, presented.
Second.
Thank you. That is, I'm sorry, who did the second? Annette or Jen? Okay, gotta check my hearing. Rick's motion is seconded by Jennifer to approve our previous meeting minutes. Questions from anyone? And all in favor of approval, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Vouchers customarily follow.
I'll move to approve general checking account vouchers totaling $551,577.91 as presented.
I'll second.
Thank you. John's motion is seconded by Annette to approve our checking account vouchers in the amount he listed. Does anyone have questions on the vouchers? I see none. All in favor of approval, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Those clearly passed also. I picked up our sheet for the public comment that had no one signed up to talk to us, so we will roll past that, which takes us to Mr. Dahman, Superintendent update.
Yeah, a couple things that I want to highlight. I want to congratulate the Milton High School Marching Band. After 2 years of fundraising, they reached their goal for replacing their current uniforms, which were 25 years old. So we definitely have gotten our money's worth out of those uniforms. Give a special thanks to the Milton High School Band Boosters, the music department staff, and the community that took part in different fundraising activities for those uniforms. And then also special thanks to Dr. John Ziegler, who gave a very generous donation and a match in memory of his wife, Dr. Judy Ziegler, and that helped to finalize those fundraising efforts. Milton Middle School Library Media Center has a new state-of-the-art flight simulator. It was donated by the nonprofit organization Students in Aviation, and that group does donations like that to schools to help students learn more about aerospace and about potential career opportunities in aerospace. I want to thank Tina Nording for helping make this a reality and for holding a very special launch party for students to explore this new learning activity. There are pictures from that event on social media. There are also pictures of at least a rendering of our new marching band uniforms on social media too. I want to congratulate Milton High School Red Hawk Clayton Hudson of the high school robotics team. Clayton qualified for the Wisconsin Robotics State Championship. The date of the state championship is still to be determined, and we will share more details when they're available, but congratulations to Clayton. And then our winter athletics are underway. Tomorrow evening, we have some special events at Milton High School. We have both boys swim meet and boys JV and varsity basketball. And performing at halftime of the JV game is the Palms Kitty Camp, which is always kind of fun. But then during the varsity's halftime, we're going to be recognizing former Milton High School educator and coach Rod Hilton. So Mr. Hilton coached student athletes for 30 years at Milton High School, an enormous impact on our football, basketball, and golf program. So we want to congratulate Rod Hilton on this special recognition.
Mr. Downing? I believe it was 52 years.
52 years.
Oh, yeah. 52 years. Thank you. That's, I thought 30 was a lot of years. 52 is really impressive. And then the other thing that I wanted to share, board members and community members maybe have heard that a Dane County judge has overturned Act 10. And there hasn't been an official final judgment from that court yet. And all of the recommendations that we're getting from our statewide groups and from legal counsel is to take a wait and see attitude and see what that final judgment looks like and then what legal advice we get. So you may have seen some things in the news on it, but we're kind of in a wait and see mode on what that will mean and if there'll be likely further court cases regarding that.
Questions for Mr. Downing at all?
I have two, Rich. One, do you know the location of the robotics? I know we don't know the date.
I don't know, Jeremy, do you know, or Carrie?
I haven't gotten anything solid yet, I'm so sorry.
I'd love to attend, but if it's in Superior, I'm not.
It's in March. It's a week-long event. They don't know when Plankton is actually competing, so we'll get this.
There's a lot of time in it. I was thinking it was coming up in the next few weeks.
Once we have that, we'll share that out from the board meeting.
No worries. And then, second question is, can board members come fly a plane at the middle school? Because I think that would be awesome.
I think it's probably available for students or staff or board members. So you can stop by the middle school LMC and check it out.
I think it's a really nice cutting edge technology, and thank you, Tina, if you can hear me. We'll bring that in. I would encourage board members to go check it out. That's pretty cool. That's neat stuff.
All right, very good. As we roll on, one committee report that actually involves two of our committees, and this is an update on our Chromebook pilot program, and we'll let Ed and or Jennifer lead us through that.
All right, I'll go first. There really was only one agenda item. It was heavy on the technology side, but it also has a tie to curriculum. So thank you for coming forward. As the board would recall, so this was last Monday, with this joint meeting between technology and curriculum. As the board will recall, back early summer, the high school decided they wanted to explore the opportunity to look at other devices for the high school. They decided to do a freshman pilot and agreed to give us updates throughout the year. This meeting that we had last Monday was again another update. It was an informative, update just telling us how it's going. One thing a little bit more impactful about this particular meeting was that if you've read through the PowerPoint that Jeremy provided, they conducted a survey. There's some pretty substantial data in there. I'm going to paraphrase it and certainly leave it to Jeremy to hit any high notes that he wants to hit. But I think the words that were used were Chromebooks. The teachers were it was very possible for them to reach their teaching objectives with the Chromebooks, with some of the language that I pulled from here. Good response on the survey, and there was a few things, some lessons learned. There's some things like how to use the device that has to be taught yet, and there are some other alternate systems like using iMovie is not an option on a Chromebook, so they're finding other opportunities, other ways to do things. Use Canva instead of Keynote. If I'm speaking Greek, I apologize. And the students were generally, the feedback from the students is they couldn't play games and watch movies, which is more in the creativity side, which is something I'm very supportive of. And then ClassWise, you guys can speak to this, is more effective. ClassWise is a program that allows teachers to focus on learning and say, student can do A or B or C, but not do X or Y. And it's far more effective on the Chromebook. And that's kind of a summary. I got a little bit more to add, but I would see if I missed anything.
Just one thing quick before Jeremy gets rolling there, I want to share that in addition to Jeremy and Neil, Julie Musgrove was already involved in putting this together. Julie isn't able to be here tonight because she's at a training session. this evening and going into tomorrow. So
Thank you, I'm sorry, I'll look at that.
Yeah, and I think you hit all the high points, and I think it's important to know where we're at. So in the memo, we give a timeline of where we're at with regards to this. So in December, we shared that we would give an update on the results of what we found during the first trimester. Coming in, and then in January would be administration will meet with the tech and the curriculum committees to provide the advantages, disadvantages of the different devices, and then a recommendation as well too. So the purpose of this last committee was just to talk about the first 12 weeks. We learned a lot. We got a lot of good feedback, as you said, from our staff and from students. If it's a direction that we can go in the future, we certainly would learn from that. But the decision that we'll be making moving forward, we're going to take what we learned about Chromebooks these last 12 weeks, obviously what we've learned from the last 10 years with MacBooks, but also part of that conversation is also reevaluating where we want the devices to do, where are we at now that's different than it was 10 years ago when we made the original decision. That's all going into the recommendation that we'll be bringing, but that'll be later in January.
So that was the next thing I was going to tee up for the board, and thank you, Jeremy, for setting me up nicely. I think it's important to the board that the decision, the recommendation will come after the next curriculum meeting, am I correct? We have provided them with a pretty decent plethora of, I think, all the questions that we would all be like, well, what about this, what about that? To which we're anticipating answers for in that meeting. So I would suggest that if you have an interest in this, that it would be a great meeting to attend, because there's going to be some significant conversation, and it is impactful to the district. I think this is a very serious decision, and or reach out to Jeremy or anybody on the committee or Julie or Neil and make sure you have your questions answered. I think while we can certainly provide updates as a committee, this is a pretty deep topic. We could be here all night if we want to cut through all the ins and outs of it. So if you have something you're interested in, I would encourage you to ask questions. If you have questions, where would you like to be directed to the pitch, or want to email?
maybe emailing to Jeremy, Neil, and Julie.
Okay.
And then when we get to the meeting, board and committee meetings agenda item tonight, we have a couple possible dates that we'll throw out for members of those two committees or other board members who are interested in attending.
So I've sent my questions multiple times, probably the same questions over and over. I'd like to see a list of the questions that we all have before I send any more questions. Like if we could, and I don't want to see them at the next committee meeting when the recommendation is coming. I'd like to actually know what questions you're going to be looking at as soon as possible. Because I know we brought them up at a meeting, then I met with you and gave you my questions, then I got a call from you, and then I sent the questions again. Then I sent the questions to Ed again. And so I'm feeling like, what are the questions? And I'd like to be able to wrap my arms around that so I can come prepared.
Understood. Neil, would you be able to send that to Annette? Or actually, why don't you send it to me and I'll send it to the full board.
Okay.
And then
Thank you, that'd be
everybody
great.
has that.
I would just like to say thank you guys for the presentation you gave. I know I tend to ask some pointed questions in those meetings, and I appreciate your patience, and I'm not as educated in some of the topics as Ed was or some of the other folks in the room, so I appreciate the patience that you spent and the time that you guys take to make sure our scholars are getting what they need.
You have feedback, questions, comments from the board?
Are you going through the presentation or was that just for us to read on the side?
That was the presentation for the committee.
For the committee, oh, I'm sorry,
I guess
couldn't
I'll-
get to that.
I
Yeah,
think
we said in the committee meeting that we were gonna do the 10,000 foot view.
Got it, thank you.
we
Certainly.
do have in the memo though, a kind of a summary of the
Yeah.
staff findings and the student findings. And I think it'd be valuable to walk through those bullet points.
Ed, would you like me to do that?
Yeah, go ahead. Your words are probably better than mine.
Okay, so on the memo, we do have a review the timeline there, and that's what we just mentioned. During the committee meetings, we went into detail with regards to both surveys. We surveyed all 63 high school teachers and staff, faculty members, and I believe I'm going to forget the numbers, 40 some who actually teach freshmen, who actually got a deeper survey, more detailed survey. with regards to, and really essence of it, there were several areas we wanted to focus on. Could they reach the learning objectives? Did they, without any, just because it's mostly Chrome-based, that's about 75% of the freshman teachers said that they could do that. Most of the rest could have another alternative route. It still met their learning objectives. So all told, it was over 90% of our staff were able to meet their learning objectives. We actually, the 3 staff members who had additional struggles were within our ID department and tech ed department. And the ones that we actually we anticipated beforehand anyway, we were working with them as well too. So that was, it was interesting to see exactly where staff are with that. We actually did take the information. So we had to follow conversations with many of the staff members and some of the comments that they had. Staff who needed modified lessons or use alternative tools were able to do so effectively. The assistive technology, which is important for all students in a universal design system, but also specifically for our students with special needs, they were able to use that. So we do have some of most students are able to access those assistive technology tools. We did learn, for example, some students who, whether the trackpad was a challenge with MacBook anyway, they're still going to need their iPad, but that was reflected in the surveys. So again, a lot of those, generally, all students are able to meet their assistive technology needs met, or any of those that could not were issues that we were identifying anyway with either with computers or using iPads. The assistive technology required students was accessible in Chromebooks, and Chromebooks contributed to the improved focus on learning. I'll let Neil talk more about class-wise. Parallel to this, we are also utilizing the program ClassWise. Neil can speak better to that.
Sure. ClassWise is a classroom management tool similar to GoGuardian. It allows you to see what's happening on your students' screens if you should need that. It also gives you a little bit of internet control. If kids are distracted, we'll say, then you could maybe refocus them onto a website that they're supposed to be on. So instead of call tag team block this website, you can just block it with a couple of clicks from within your website, within your class. Or if something is generally blocked and you want to allow it, maybe it's a fun activity day, you need to allow some kind of a game site. You can reward students. You can pause the internet if it's time for screens closed, distraction free. So we talked about it as a focused learning tool, and the feedback from staff was really positive on that. So I think over 50% reported that they used it in their class and they noticed that it had a positive effect. It does work on both Chromebook and MacBook, so it's a little bit of gray area. It's not directly related to the Chromebook pilot, kind of piloting it in tandem, but it does work very much better on the Chromebooks than it does in the Mac. You have control over a couple of things in the Mac, you have full control over the Chromebook. So we wanted to kind of pair those two things together. Even if we stick with MacBooks, we would still find some kind of classroom management tool to assist our teachers in focusing on learning.
The summary of the student findings, we surveyed 217 of the freshmen responded to a survey that they took in their 4th period classes out of roughly 260 students. So we had a good number of students who took that. A majority reported that they could find their assignments and access materials. There were some students, the majority of the comments of concerns led us to think, okay, if we were to continue this, these are other training that we need to do. We're 12 weeks into this, so that a lot of it highlighted areas that we would need to help train students with, even train staff with as well too. But the biggest concern that students had, outside of it, as Ed mentioned too, is with regards to class life. We talk about focused learning. The teacher can say, no, you're going to have this on your screen right now. You're not going to have roadblocks or a game on your screen right now. So obviously, some of our 9th grade students were very vocal about that tool that the staff had now. But in talking with our teachers, that was a need that they had. It's something that's real, and that was a welcome portion of this first 12 weeks here. And over half the staff said that they used it and they liked it. Most of the other half were wanting to learn more how to use it. They just didn't engage with it as much during the survey. And then finally on the memo, we did talk a little bit about some of the breakage rate. Well, that was not the focus. We were taking a look really at the effectiveness of teachers being able to achieve their learning objectives in class. We did have some not unique, but we noticed a few Because of Chris Brady, you know, about that.
Yeah, one of the reasons we were asking the question about the MacBooks is this version of them is quite fragile and our students are young. And we noticed very high breakage and then high repair cost for these. So we want to make sure that we can justify our decision if we want to go with MacBooks. So one of the things we wanted to learn about with the,
Oh, there we go.
Let's get on camera.
There we go.
One of the things we wanted to study is what's the breakage rate of the Chromebooks, because that was an unknown. Now, these Chromebooks are brand new, and the MacBooks are 4 years old. They are built differently. The Chromebooks are ruggedized, so we suspected that we would see a lower breakage rate, and that has been borne out. We had maybe 3 or 4 screens break from freshmen, and we had about more than 10 per grade level, so more than 30 MacBook screen replacements done on the MacBooks. So just to compare, talking about what we learned that the Chromebooks are more, go figure, more rugged device and more durable device than the MacBooks.
That was in the 12-week period?
Yes.
This leads to some of the questions that we've asked or we're going to be provided. One of my questions is total cost of ownership. So yes, the screen itself is physically more expensive to replace. But the number I'd ask is what does it cost to operate a device for 4 years versus the other device, because the MacBooks do have a reset at the end of life. A Chromebook typically is $0. And so those are those natural questions I was alluding to that I'm seeing interested, because those make a difference when you're kind of comparing numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. We will have full, as full as we can, quotes, numbers, estimates, costing models for different options.
Right, yeah, I was just citing that as an example because you mentioned it.
Yep, I'm looking forward to kind of delving into the, okay, now what, versus all the updates. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Is there different levels of Chromebooks as far as quality and
Yes,
how rugged they are?
yes.
The ones we have now, where would you say they are?
They are designed for student use. They are not the bottom of the barrel. You can get a Chromebook for like $99. These ones are in use by multiple schools in our conference and we're recommended. The screen on these is actually the same quality-wise as the 11-inch MacBooks that we first got. Same resolution, same all that kind of stuff. So it's right in that target area for student learning device. You can spend $2,000 or $3,000 on a really nice Chromebook if you want to use it for your job, your employment. It's just not the one that we would give to students. So we're trying to find a sweet spot.
Anyone else? Ed, Jennifer, does that cover what we needed to?
Yeah.
We'll look forward to the follow-up here in a month or so. Thank you, Neil. Thank you, Jeremy, and Ed, and Jennifer. All right, moving on, 404 is new business. A, as Mr. Spivak is making his way to the podium, is a discussion and possible action on renewal of our cooperative agreement for girls gymnastics and girls hockey for the 25-26 school year. Welcome, Jeff.
Hey, good to be here. So I'm seeking approval for 2 renewals of co-ops, long-standing co-ops. The first one I have up right now is girls hockey. That's our co-op with the Memorial High School and 9 other schools. That's quite a conglomeration of schools. Long-standing co-op, we've been doing it for years. It's our only outlet for our girls in Milton High School to participate in WIA hockey. That's why it's very valuable to us. As far as the terms and agreement, nothing is changing from the last 2 years to going on next year. We still pay our share of operating costs associated with running that program as always, and we'll charge our athletes $750 just like we do our male counterparts who play hockey at HS. That's the gist of that. Nothing is really changing. The other one is gymnastics. Gymnastics co-ops are due annually. I said every year we're going to do the same thing. Our gymnastics co-op is with Edgerton and Edgerton alone. Again, a very long-standing co-op. The co-op's important to us for the long-term viability of the program as far as numbers and participation goes. Right now we're at 15 girls, which is up, and Edgerton, I think it's 6 of those 15. So they're a very important part of our program. We invoice Edgerton High School $500 per participating athlete to us in the cost of that program. So that is exactly the same as a year ago, too. So I'm looking for approval of those two renewals of co-ops.
I have a quick question. Where does the girls hockey team play?
They mostly play Beloit, so Beloit Memorial being the lead, so every co-op has a lead school. They're responsible for scheduling and things like that. They play Telford Park in Beloit. On occasion, they'll play in Janesville, at the ice arena there. We try to make it, when they do that. If they're playing.
But their home ice is.
Their home ice is Beloit.
Is Beloit, okay.
Jeff, just because my memory fails me, for hockey, the $750 does not include equipment or does it?
That is just the cost that all parents or all families are required to put in, right? That equipment comes with that, right? So if you're operating the program as a whole, it'd be equipment purchases that Beloit Memorial makes, right? Coaching salaries, travel, officials, all those things can be wrapped up in. And that $750 you contribute towards that.
So I have a daughter, I think $750 bill gives her the hockey equipment.
Yeah.
I just couldn't
Yeah,
remember which one
yes.
it was.
Yep.
What are the numbers look like for girls hockey right now?
It's in the high teens, so again, there's 11 schools in that co-op. Some very, very large schools, so like girls hockey is kind of a difficult sport to find numbers for. I know they've kind of flirted with having a JV team for the last couple of years, it's been varsity only. I think it's high teens right now. We have 2 participating athletes in girls hockey.
Jeff, and it's correct that one is for 1 year and the other one's for 2 years?
Yeah, so for whatever reason,
Okay.
most co-ops, every sport except gymnastics operates in every 2 years. Gymnastics is annual. Tell you why.
I'll move to renew the cooperative agreement for girls hockey between Millen High School and Beloit Memorial High School for the 25-26 and 26-27 school years.
Second.
Tracy's motion is seconded by John to approve our continuation of our hockey co-op with Beloit Memorial. Questions from anyone? All in favor of that, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
I'll make a motion to renew the cooperative agreement for girls gymnastics between Milton High School and Edgerton High School for 2025-2026 school year.
Second.
That is Rick's motion, seconded by Jennifer, to approve our continued co-op between us and between Milton and Edgerton for girls gymnastics. Questions? And then all in favor of that, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Mr. Spivak.
And I just need to grab a couple signatures before I.
We will get her. All right, and then B is going to be Mr. Dahman on new business, and this is about the 25-26 school year calendar.
In board docs, there's an attachment that is the 25-26 district calendar, and I want to share some highlights from that. Back in November, the board approved keeping our number of instructional days for next year the same as this year, 175.5 instructional days. Following that, Julie Musgrove and I met with teacher reps twice to discuss their thoughts and to incorporate some of their input into the calendar. The calendar committee has finalized the 25-26 calendar. This time of year is a little bit earlier than we've done that in the past. I think typical has been more in January, and I think 1 year it was even in early February. Having it done before the holidays gives both parents and staff, when they get together with family over the holidays, an opportunity to plan next year's get together and vacations and things like that. A few highlights from the calendar and key dates. The start date would be Tuesday, September 2nd, which is the earliest allowed start date. The last day with students would actually be a half day. That's why there's 175.5 instructional days. Students would be here in the morning on June 5th, and then staff would have the afternoon to finish grading and close out the year. New teachers would have a day and a half of training on August 18th and then the morning of August 19th. All teachers would come back on August 19th, and then we would have our district-wide welcome back on August 20th. And one change from the last couple of years, there would be school for students on the Monday and Tuesday of Thanksgiving on November 24th and 25th. And spring break is that typical last full week in March, which is March 23rd through 27th. So one big thing that we always go through when we're developing the calendar is to make sure that we don't go too far into June because our schools that are not air conditioned get extremely warm once we, even in May and early June. So being done by that first Friday in June, June 5th is valuable. We would have graduation the Sunday before, which has been our tradition for a while. So May 31st would be the graduation ceremony on that Sunday, May 31st. And then it becomes a matter of how do we get in our 175.5 student days, some professional development days throughout the year, and fit them in between that first day that we can have school and then an attempt to not go too far into June. Another benefit of being finished up by June 5th is that we could then start summer school on that Monday, June 8th.
I have a few things. How many snow days are built into the calendar?
We do have some wiggle room. The state has a mandated number of instructional time, and we always schedule more than that. The minimum isn't what they recommend, it's really the floor. And I can't speak for all districts. I would say most districts plan more days than the minimum number required by the state. And what we're doing this year and our plan for next year would be that the first 2 snow days would be non-instructional days. They'd be kind of traditional, go out and build a snow fort and shovel your driveway for your parents or whatever folks do at home on the snow days. And then after those first 2, then we still would have a little bit of wiggle room, but depending on how early those come, then I would have discretion on whether we go to virtual days or we make up any days. And I would keep the board updated if we use those 2 early, and I'll speak to this year because it's the same format this year. If we use them up by early January, we've used our 2 days, then at a January board meeting, we would let the board know and then talk about plans coming up. But there is at both the elementary and the secondary, there's enough wiggle room. One of the things that we'd rather not do is cut into spring break because people make plans. If we end up with a lot of snow days and we have to make up days, we'd like to not have to go into spring break. We'd like to not go further into June because of how warm it gets in our schools. But all of that depends kind of on how severe winter is.
So what it looks like, and I think it's great, is you shifted the Thanksgiving to the Christmas because of the way that it oddly falls. So like this year, I think it's not the full 2 weeks. It just looks like the date shifted.
Yeah, the winter break this year isn't a full 2 weeks. One of the things that we often do is come back on January 2nd, that students and staff have New Year's Eve and New Year's Day off, but we come back on January 2nd. A unique thing about next year is January 2nd is a Friday, so rather than bringing everyone back for a one day and then having the weekend off, for next year we would have that January 2nd as a Friday day off and then start that following Monday. And then the other end of the winter break is the 22nd and the 23rd of December are a Monday, Tuesday. We debated having students on those days or not. We know a lot of people like to start their travel on the 23rd to get to where they're going by Christmas Eve. And again, we didn't want to bring students back for just Monday.
Gotcha.
But that can change from year to year depending on what day of the week Christmas and New Year's fall on.
My only last comment is before we publish this, and it was when I was looking at it, the 21st of November is missing.
The what of what? Say that
The
again.
21st of November.
Well, I believe that next year has a 21st of November, so.
Friday.
Just before I put it on the website.
Oh, so it's blocked off there, but the 21 is.
Yes.
All right, we will definitely get that fixed before we
Thank you.
publicize that. Thank you for pointing that out.
As a parent, I noticed the week of Thanksgiving was shortened too, which first was a bummer, but then I saw the Christmas 2-week break and that made up for it, so.
Yeah,
How many people are on the committee? Just curious.
It's reps from each of our, admin reps from each of our levels, Chris Tukendorf to make sure we're hitting on the HR side of things. Julie Musgrove chairs the committee. Julia Garshinsky is on the committee, and I'm on the committee. And we got good input from the teacher reps. They were pleased with the tweaks that we made just to where some of our professional days fall and how we're going to utilize those professional development days. The biggest concern that they had was around at the end of the semester and at the end of the first trimester that we have some time built in for them to prepare for the second trimester for the secondary staff and to do work on semester grades for the elementary staff. And we have PD days where we'll be able to dedicate half of that day for folks to be able to do that work.
Any other questions on the calendar? All right, thank you, Mr. Donlin. The end of new business takes us to A on miscellaneous, which is our staffing report, including the update.
I move to approve the staff report as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Rick's motion, seconded by Tracy, to approve the updated staffing report. Questions from anyone? And all in favor of that, please say aye.
Aye.
And then opposed? Thank you. B is gifts and donations. They are in board docs, of course.
I'll move to approve the gifts and donations with gratitude.
Second.
Thank you. John's motion, seconded by Rick, to approve our gifts and donations with our gratitude. Questions? All in favor of approval, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Thank you. And we're up to meeting dates that Mr. Donlin hinted at.
A week from today, we have our data workshop, so that's on Monday, December 16th at 6:30 here in the PDC. Our next regularly scheduled board meeting is on January 13th of 2025. So again, 6:30 here on the second Monday of January. We will be scheduling a finance committee meeting. We'll be working with Ross to look at some possible dates and get those out to the finance committee. That'll be sometime in January.
There's a school board meeting on the school calendar on the 23rd.
The 23rd of December.
On the website.
Yeah, sorry.
There shouldn't.
Yeah, that's a
Okay, and I just want to confirm that because I had it on my calendar because it was on that second.
We're not meeting yet.
Okay, thank you.
We talked earlier about the Joint Technology and Curriculum Committee meeting, and a date that would work well for the school folks that need to be there at that meeting is Monday, January 20th, at our regular board meeting time of 6:30. Does that work for committee members? I'm seeing Tracy nodding her head yes, Jen nodding her head yes, Ed a thumbs up, Rick nodding his head yes. Those are the four people that are on the committee. Other board members that are interested in attending, does January 20th at 6:30 work? It's Annette and Joe and John, and I'm seeing nods from all three. So we will go with that meeting on Monday, January 20th at 6:30 p.m. And then also upcoming in January is the school board convention. So I think that nearly everyone has reached out to Chelsea to let her know if you're planning to attend or not. We will need to finalize hotel rooms and finalize registration. So it's important to make sure that you're available and then let Chelsea know if there are any changes to that as soon as possible.
All right, good on dates. We are done with our regular agenda, but I have an executive session scheduled.
We don't have a report from our student reps, do you?
We do not.
This is the
Although-
second board meeting that are involved.
Second one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But we're certainly glad to see him. Okay, having said that, I would entertain a motion pursuant to Wisconsin statute 1985 sub 1 and sub c, which is considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. And that is the follow-up or the finish-up work for our superintendent eval.
So moved.
Second.
That is Rick's motion, seconded by Tracy. Roll call, Ed?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Tracy?
Yes.
Joe is yes. Rick?
Yes.
And Annette? And Jennifer?
Yes.
We are in executive session. Thank you for joining us. We are not returning to open. That's high. That works.
Okay, that's
Which
what
is-
I thought when I saw it on there, so I wrote it on my calendar and I'm like,
We're almost always in that.
yeah.
Never seen that.
Yeah. So the next one is, this is second
Second Monday.
to 13th of January. Okay.